Good morning, everyone. I'm Danica, and I'd like to welcome you to Discovery Church. We're super glad that you're here. We're going to get started with the service in just a few minutes, but before we do that, we have some cool stuff to tell you about what's happening at DCC. First up, serving on the DCC cleaning team might not sound like your first choice of teams to serve on, but hopefully this will change your mind.
Hello, my name is John. I'm part of the DCC Thursday cleanup team. I come into the building once a week and help with mopping the floors. About 4.5 years ago, I started coming to DCC. And one of the Sunday lessons that Greg was having that week was self-service. And the most important thing I took away from that is once you get rid of self, the only thing left is service. Part of the 719 program is asking for 9 hours a month. If you can't do 9 hours, that's okay. Do what you can do. But let me assure you, they'll be the most rewarding 9 hours that you have all month long. Service is something that we can all do, and we will all get a great reward for it. One of the things I get each day when I walk into the building is I get a hug, but also I get a great satisfaction knowing that I've given back just a little bit. There's many, many good people in DCC community, and I really appreciate being a part of that.
If you want to sign up to serve on the cleaning team, you can go to the garage or online at me2place.com/serve. Next up, we have an opportunity to join with thousands of other people in order to serve our city and show the love of Jesus with no strings attached.
What would it look like for God's people to come together under one mission of bringing hope to the city? Our theme for City Serve 2016 is simple. One church, one mission, hope to the city.
It's beautiful here in Garden of the Gods, and we just wanted to help the community out by fixing the trails a little bit and showing the love of God with no strings attached.
Well, really, the whole point of today is to be the hands of Jesus.
I'm serving this weekend because I love Jesus and I love kids, and I want kids to know that they can serve this community too.
From the most powerful worship service you could imagine last night to moving out into the city today, we saw everybody move from being on their knees in worship to being down on their knees to serve their city today.
So the Big C Church is gathered today to represent the unified church, to serve Colorado Springs, the city we live in, the city we love.
We're here today helping in this apartment that is owned by Lutheran Family Services, and this apartment actually is temporary housing for refugees that come from other countries, and so the families will come, and as soon as they get off the airplane, they'll be staying here.
Well, I just really like shoveling.
I think the best part of the whole day is the upbeat volunteers and their spirit of giving back to the community.
This is just another way for us to go out and serve our community and make sure other people know how much we love it. It's a huge deal, and we love being a part of this.
To be out today, loving people in Jesus' name, trying to improve our city, trying to reach out and get under the places where we can lift up, it's been incredibly inspiring.
Our greatest witness is coming together as a people of God and displaying our tangible good works, and then we point to Jesus in the end.
Service touches your heart.
It's not work if it's a labor of love.
It's a total transformation in 5 hours.
We could not function without groups like this from City Serve.
Jesus really showed he had an address here on earth today for City Serve. And Colorado Springs was really blessed to have so many churches participate and share this great moment, a movement of God.
It's important to serve in our city, to give back and show God's grace around Colorado Springs.
I'm very excited about our churches coming together in unity to help serve our city in a whole variety of ways, to help create a society that matches our scenery.
If you want to be a part of City Serve on Saturday, September 30th, all you have to do is sign up at cityservecos.com. We hope to see you there. Last, Kristen is going to tell us how a life-changing experience helped her find her way to serving on the garage team.
My friend and I just walked in, and after worship, felt like home. So we decided this is where we wanted to be. So about 4 months after coming here, I had a stroke, and most life-changing thing that could happen, right? So I was in the hospital about 4 days later, going through a lot of different emotions. My mom said, why don't you send a prayer request to the new church you're going to? So she sent one online, and the next day, Dick and Carol Eller came to meet me. They sat down with me for a long time. It just made me feel like it was okay to be upset and be confused about what was going on. That whole experience just got me on fire for God and for wanting to talk about Him and for wanting to share my experience and for showing that you can go through something tough and come out stronger. And at the time, I didn't really feel like there was a clear direction on the next steps to take. I was in my bathroom doing my makeup one day and just felt this overwhelming sensation to talk to God. And I was in service the next morning, and a guy who I hadn't talked to for over a year came up to me and he said, I know we haven't talked about, but I've noticed your spirit and your heart. So he asked if I would join the garage team, but he said we just need somebody who has a smile and wants to welcome people. So I said, okay. So I just showed up, and it was true. I didn't need to have all the answers. I have met so many people with a smile and a handshake, as I have the opportunity to help people find what they need and get connected to their next steps, and I enjoy it.
If you want to join Kristen and help people connect at DCC, you can go get signed up for the Garage team by going to the Garage or me2place.com/serve. If you're just coming in, here's what you missed. We saw how serving on the cleaning team is about so much more than just cleaning. And then we learned about the opportunity to serve our city in a huge way with CityServe. Last, Kristen told us why serving on the Garage team is such a great place for you to plug in. Make sure you get here early so you can stay in the know about what's going on at DCC. And join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all sorts of stuff that we can't fit into our pre-service videos. That's it for this week, so please stand up and join us for worship.
Well, I don't know what you've been told. Heaven is coming down to the world. I don't know what you've been told. Heaven is coming down to the world, singing heaven. Heaven, it's coming down. Heaven
unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. You can have a seat.
We're going to move into a time of communion this morning. And it really is wonderful to be his kid, isn't it? It's really wonderful to bask in the glory that is him, bask in the freedom that is him. And in that freedom, we like to remember that. We like to remember what he gave, what he did, the sacrifice that he made. So we're going to partake in communion, and what's going to happen is there are going to be trays passed across the rows with a little wafer and a little cup of juice that simplify the body and the blood of Christ. So take one of those and pass the tray. If you're new here, welcome first of all, but if all of this is weird to you, that's okay too. Go ahead and pass the tray on to the next person. There will be no judgment, there will be no condemnation. You are in a safe place here today. And at the end of communion, you're going to hear those little cups shatter. And what that means here at DCC is that it's finished. It's over. He paid the price for us, and we don't have to look back again. So Jesus, we thank you for that. We thank you that it's over. We thank you that it's done, that we never have to look at our past again. That you took everything so we could walk in grace and in freedom and in love, and that we could share that with the rest of the world. So God, we just ask you to meet us where we are. Help us to remember the things that we need to remember. Help us to remember that you love us. And be with us this morning as we have some time with you. In Jesus' name. Greg's sermon, we lift up our hearts to you this morning, and we just ask that you'd meet us where we are. Speak into us in ways that only you can do. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all can have a seat.
If we believe in heaven at all, we tend to think of it as a someday place. Someday we'll go there. Someday we'll finally be happy. Someday there will be no more pain, no more loss, no more violence and hate. Someday. But what if it didn't have to be a someday place? What if it could be a today place? What if there were things we could do now? Actions we could take to combat the pain, the loss, and the suffering. Actions that bring hope, freedom, and rescue to the world. What if we could reach out and bring heaven to earth?
Say, hey, good morning. Hey, welcome to this place that we call DCC. I just want you to know we are so pumped and jazzed and excited and thrilled that you're here. That's always true in this place, but especially true if you're here for the very first time. Listen, we know you got lots of options is what you're going to do with your Sunday morning in a town like ours. You got lots of options, even if you decide that you're going to go to church, but somehow, some way, you've landed here. And I want you to know we don't take that lightly. We don't take it for granted in this place, whether you're tuning in online right now for the very first time or sitting in this room with us for the very first time today. We're not only glad you're here, but we want you to know that we're people just like you. We really are people just like you. We all have problems and issues and challenges and worries and mistakes and addictions and sin and all this stuff in our lives and stories. And so I just want you to know, if that sounds at all like you, me too, me too, me too. We say that a lot in this place. Here's what I really want you to know. You're not different as you sit here today, and you're not alone as you sit here today. And you fit perfectly in this place with us every single week. And I really hope that you've already felt that and you've experienced that in your time here with us today. So thanks for being here. It's so good to have you with us. You know, when you think about this title of this series that we're in, Bringing Heaven to Earth, it sounds not only a little bit churchy, which freaks me out a little bit, but the title can be just a little bit confusing too. Because here's the deal. Listen, here's what I'm talking about. Even if we do believe in heaven, okay, even if we do believe in heaven, which for some of us that's a stretch and we're not sure, and if that's you, we're glad you're here because you don't have to believe what we believe to belong in this place. But even if we are sure, for most of us, it still tends to be a one-day thing. And here's what I mean by that. So 2,000 or so years ago, heaven touched earth one day when Jesus came and walked the earth. And then heaven's going to touch earth again one day again when Jesus comes back. So it happened then. It's going to happen again. But really, when you think about it, how we approach this thing, there's not a lot of hope for us between now and again. I mean, it's just kind of how we look at it when we see this thing. We just sang this song, Heaven. I don't know if you were in here. Probably most of you weren't because it was the first song we sang, and you always show up late, right? So we sang this song called Heaven. There's this lyric in that song, Heaven is coming down, and I love that, but that one doesn't cause us much problem. The tension in that song comes in this lyric that's repeated a couple of times. Heaven is all around. Heaven is all around. And you're like, around where? Here? Around who? Around us? When? Today? See, because here's the problem. You just go, you listen to that and you go, really? Because see, I don't know about you, but heaven is not a word that I would use to describe what I see going on around me in the world today. How about you? John Eldredge, in his new book, All Things New, he writes about this stuff, and he talks about the reality of life, the reality of the world that we all find ourselves living in today. And he says, it just seems like everyone in the world around us is just having problems. I mean, and if you think about your friends and your family members, there's challenges and problems and all that in all of our lives. I mean, we're all facing hard things in life. And he says the human race seems to be in trouble. It's not doing really well. And he talks about the fact that antidepressant use is like skyrocketed over the past 20 years. And depression is now the leading cause of disability in the world. Worldwide, it's the leading cause of disability. Suicide rates are off the charts, right? It's the number one or number two leading cause of death among young people, depending on the country that you live in. And things like anxiety and addictions are at all-time highs too. And it seems like a runaway train that's getting away from us. And John summarizes it this way. He says, we're living in a world that is suffering from a great crisis of this one word. Great crisis of hope. A great crisis of hope. And so we look around in the world today and it's like heaven on earth? I think hell on earth. hell on earth is a more accurate description of a lot of our lives. And all of us sitting here today, all of us could use a little bit of hope. Not only the hope of heaven someday, but we could use a big dose of heaven, of the hope of heaven in our lives today too. And so that's why, that right there is why we are doing this series. And so for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about this gap that often exists in church world between what we know and what we do. There's a gap. And so what we're coming to is this, that it's not just about us going to church, it's about us being the church for people around us in the world that are in need of hope. And so we begin to unpack this thing. We say, so practically speaking, how can we do this? How can we bring this heaven to earth? How can we begin to do this? Why do we need to talk about that? Here's the answer. We're not very good at it. We're just not very good at this stuff in the church. People are not finding hope in the church, in the capital C church. They're not. People are not flocking into the church. People are leaving the church. And the people that are staying church, here's what we're seeing. They are attending church more irregularly. They're attending church at a declining rate. We know, it's pretty clear from what Jesus tells us what we're supposed to do. Here's my question. Why is this stuff so difficult for me and for you? Why is this stuff so difficult for us? See, it seems like to me there's a block here. It seems like to me there's something getting in our way. So something's standing between us and this thing. So what is it? What is it that's causing us not to be able to do this? What is going on in this thing? What is that? Well, could it be, how about this? I think a big part of it could be boiled down, could simply be boiled down to two simple, overlooked words. What are they? That's what I want us to talk about in the rest of time that we have left together today. So let's jump into this and let's do just that. We're going to Mark chapter 12 today, okay? Mark chapter 12, you got a Bible, you can go ahead and turn there. If you don't have a Bible, they're on the back tables. If you can get there right now, if that's awkward or weird, just wait till you leave and grab one on your way out. You can hit our app, you can hit YouVersion, and you can read off that piece of paper I handed you, or you can just hold tight and read with me because everything I read is going to be on these two screens. So here we go, Mark chapter 12, verse 28. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Okay, so Jesus is debating with these other teachers of the law. And he's just said something brilliant about marriage in heaven and all that stuff. You need to go back and read it. It's pretty cool. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Let's stop right there, all right? Now, when we hear the word commandment, how many are there? What do we think? 10. Good answer, right? We tend to think in terms of the 10 commandments. These are the 10 big ones and all that. Actually, there were a lot more commandments that God gave to his chosen people, Israel. 613 to be exact. There are 365 don't do this. And 248, make sure you do this. So here's the 248 things you need to make sure that you're doing. And here's the 365 things that you need to make sure above all else that you don't do. Now let's pause here for just a second. I want to talk about this because, come on, this is a lot to keep track of, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about you. I don't blame this guy for his question here. Do you? I can't blame him for his question because here's what. If I'm standing up under this myself, if I got to live under all this stuff, I'm asking the exact same question. I want to know what's the most important. Of all these rules, what's the most important rule? Why do I want to know that? Because here's what I know about me. I'm going to break some of them. Right? And I know more now. I'm going to break a lot of them. I'm going to break a lot of them, so here's what I need to know. I need to know which one's most important to God, so at least I don't break that one. Fair enough, right? So, Jesus, tell me, what's the most important? What's the most important one? He says, here it is. You ready? You want to talk about rules? Okay, let's talk about the rules. Rule number 1, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Bam, booyah, there it is. Right? And I love this. I love this moment. Now, are you ready for this? All right, so check out what's happening here. Jesus is telling us, not Greg's telling us, not Pastor Greg is telling us, I don't like that, but not Pastor Greg is telling us, not the church is telling us, not the Pope is telling us. Jesus is telling us right here that the most important rule of all is, you ready? Relationship trumps rules. Yeah. Rule number 1, the rules don't matter near as much as the relationship. Now, church people start to squirm in these kind of moments, right? He's like, wait a minute, Greg. Wait a minute, are you telling me the rules are not important? No. right? And think about it. The rules are necessary, aren't they? Yes, they're necessary. Listen, let's get outside of church world for just a minute. Just think about all the relationships in your life. The relationships that are the best in your life, the relationships that are healthy in your lives have rules in place, right? There are boundaries and rules in place. That's what helps make the relationship good, healthy, and strong. That's why God gives us this stuff. He doesn't give us these rules to oppress us or to burden us or to make us unhappy people who walk the earth like, oh, woe is me. He doesn't do that. He's trying to help us out here. That's what's going on in our lives and stories. So of all these things that God can point to say, here, I'm giving this to help you, I'm giving you this to help you, lead you to this better life, this is to help you, this is to help you. Of all the things he could say, of 600 plus things he can say, he says the most important one is this: you loving me and my relationship with you. Bam, there it is. Okay, so what's the problem? Here's the problem. Somehow, some way, somewhere along the way, we flipped this thing in the church. Jesus says relationship trumps rules. But if you think about it, the truth is that rules trump relationship in most of our religious experiences. And it's a problem for us. And here's what I'm trying to get us to, okay? A rule-based life, a rule-focused life, okay, that is based solely on the do's and don't do's. A rule-focused life that's based duly on the do's and don't do's, right, will over the course of time begin to feel stale, oppressive, empty, and hopeless to us. Nothing like this life to the fullest thing that Jesus came to bring us. So that's the seat some of us are sitting in today, right? This rule-focused life, doing all the things I'm supposed to do and not supposed to do, that alone, that life is solely based on the do's and don't do's, will eventually lead us there. It's going to feel stale, it's going to feel oppressive, empty, it's going to feel pretty hopeless. Nothing like this life to the fullest thing that Jesus came to bring us. Now, despite that, despite the fact that that is true, and that's some of our experiences, even as we sit here today, we've been there in the past, we'll be there in the future. Here's the thing, we still have trouble letting go of this rule thing, don't we? We have a tendency getting past. Not only are the rules important to us when we get inside the walls of this thing we do called church, check this out. Not only are they important, just like the guy in the story, the order of priority of the rules and the order of importance is important to us too. It is. Just think about it. Because here's the deal. Even if the Bible doesn't tell us this one's more important than this one is more important than this one, and this sin is worse than this one is this one, it doesn't matter if the Bible says it or not. No problem. We just make it up. Don't we? Because see, God says sin is sin. So God says you just broke commandment 75 and you number 202. It's the same. Now the consequences of sin is different in our lives, right? Now, I commit sin, you commit a different sin. The consequences in my life, like sexual sin, that's why God is so heavy on this stuff, because the consequences of that, it's heavy, right? Maybe more than some other sins, but sin is sin in God's world. Despite the fact that that's true, we all kind of have our own what? Kind of our own private, like these are the top 5 worst sins of all time. And when you really think about the ones that make you go, whoo, the most, okay? Here's the thing. I can tell you 4 things about the most of the time this is true, about our list of top 5 sins. You ready? It's one that we've been on the receiving end of. It hurts, right? The other one is it's something that we haven't committed ourselves, right? It's something that we don't struggle with, or it's something that we don't understand. That's what tends to make the top 5 on most of our lists. Now, I've been on the receiving end of this, and it's painful. I mean, it's hard. It's no fun. Just trust me. It's no fun when your sin, the worst sins you've ever committed in your life, are very public. It's even worse when they're very public and they tend to make everybody's top 5. That's not good space, fun space to live in. Now, you would think, because I've been on the receiving end of that I would be a guy that would never, ever, ever, ever do that to anyone else. Yeah. Sometimes not so much. About 4 or 5 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Gail Haggard, Ted Haggard's wife. You know, Ted used to be pastor up in New Life and kind of ran through some stuff, kind of crashed and burned a little bit in his life. And I met her, and I walked up to her and I said, you know what, I've been really wanting to meet you because I've got a lot of admiration and respect for you for the way that you stood by your husband, Ted, in the midst of this terrible storm in your life. I said, you know, I've got a beautiful wife. Her name is Stacy, and she stood by me when other people would have run away. When most other people would have run away, she stood by me when I did something terrible and blew our life up, blew our marriage up, blew my ministry up, and you did that too. And so I just have a lot of respect and admiration for you. And she was very kind, and we had a good conversation for about 5 minutes, and then I walked out of the room. As I was walking out of the room, here's what went through my mind. I should have told her, well, I didn't do what Ted did. I mean, how jacked up is that, right? I'm like, what is wrong with you? It's like, yeah, at least I didn't do that, right? Woo, yeah, woo. You know, it's like, I've broken some rules, but I haven't broken that rule. I mean, that is jacked up, isn't it? That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Listen, the rules are necessary. We have to have rules in place to have healthy relationships, right? That's why God hands this stuff down to us. But Jesus says, listen. Yeah, rule number one is relationship trumps rules. So here's my question. Why do we keep defaulting to this rule thing in the church? You know what I think the answer is? Because there's so much mystery. So much confusion and so much, our relationship with God, the idea of a relationship with God seems so limiting, seems so limited to us. It really does. Think about it this way. The first time you go on a date with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, who becomes your fiance, spouse, whatever, but first time the relationship starts. So go back to the start of the relationship. You go on this amazing date. And so he picks you up and he takes you and he brings you flowers. So it starts with flowers and he's all decked out and he's got on that cologne that just makes you, you know, it's great. And he takes you to this nice restaurant and you have your favorite dinner and all that. Then you go for a walk in the park and you know, get ice cream and all that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I found my soulmate. This is amazing. And then he takes you home and he kisses you goodnight and he says goodnight. And as he's turning to walk away, that's what you're supposed to do. So as he's turning to walk away, okay, he turns to you and says, hey, one more thing. I almost forgot this. The rest of this relationship's now on you. You're like, what? He said, yeah, I was really good to you tonight, right? Yeah. I got this relationship off to a great start, right? Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, now the rest is on you. And why do I bring that up? Because this is exactly how a lot of us view our relationship with God. It started great. It started gangbusters, right? You found Jesus, and you found out that Jesus died on a cross for you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. He sent Jesus for me, and now I'm saved, and I'm going to heaven one day. Oh my, it's amazing. And you remember how it was like when you gave your life to Jesus and just how that felt inside. It was amazing. Then you got baptized, and all your friends and family were here, and they cheered, and then they patted you on the back. Then you got your own Bible with like your name embroidered in gold. It got off to a great start. But now God kind of seems distant. And he kind of seems unaware and unconcerned, and he seems quiet. Sometimes you wonder if he's even there, if he even cares, because your prayers continue to go unanswered, and your life just continues to go from bad to worse. And yeah, he saved me, but you know what? There's really not much of a relationship there. It's just not. And yeah, I see him doing things. He shows up from time to time, but I mostly see that in somebody else's world, in their lives. I don't see it a lot in mine. See, my life has simply been reduced to this, the things I'm supposed to do and the things I'm not supposed to do. And it's confusing to us. Why? Because relationship's a two-way street. It's give and take, and that just doesn't seem to be what we're experiencing. And yet, rule number one, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Do you see how this is such a challenge for us? Yeah, let's keep going here. That's rule number one. Rule number two, verse 31, the second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There's no commandment greater than these. So here we go. We got the top two, right? Love God, love people. He says neighbor here. Now, Jesus doesn't leave any confusion here about who our neighbor is. You look at Luke chapter 10, Good Samaritan story. He flushes it out. Who is our neighbor? Here's the answer. Everyone. Everyone. People in the world around us in need of hope. There you have it. That's every single one of us in this room today. It's everyone outside the walls of this place too. So there it is. So Jesus says this, okay? He says this. Listen, you want to experience some of this hope yourself? Yeah, I want that, right? Hope of heaven. Bring it into my life. Yeah, you want to help bring that to other people? Yeah, okay, so rule number one is, hey, relationship trumps rules. And then rule number two is this. You ready? People trump performance. People trump performance. Now, here's the deal. We struggle a lot with rule number one. We do. This whole heart, soul, mind, and strength with all of that. So your whole heart is kind of like, there's no divided loyalty here. So I love God more than I love my wife, Stacy, all my girls, my grandkids, all of that stuff. Even my son-in-law. That one's easy. All right, so there's it's undivided love. Like there's no love in my life like this love. That's pretty high standard, right? And then all my soul, this is the emotional feeling part, that something just gets stirred in me when I think about how much I love God and my relationship with him. And then all my mind, this is what we sang this morning. I believe in this, I believe in that, I believe in this, I believe in that. It's the intellectual part of our faith. And then all of our strength. This is like fervor or excitement. I have this passion. I am so passionate. I'm all in this relationship with God. We struggle with that, but I'm telling you, where we drop the ball more than that is with commandment number 2. Love people. Right? And there's a reason for that. Here's our challenge. It's not a new one. It's been going on a long, long time. People get lost in our pursuit of religion. They just do. It's sad, but it's true. People get lost in our pursuit of religion. Personal performance and having the right programs and being in the right programs become more important to us than people. And I cannot see as I read this that that's how God drew it up. But it's true, isn't it? And we all are taught that this one is more important. These two things are more important. I was thinking this past week about the spiritual disciplines. You know, these things we're supposed to do in our lives. If you're really a follower of Jesus, you should have these disciplines in place in your life. I'm not knocking it. They're true, right? There's been some great guys that have written about this stuff. Dallas Willard, and there's a bunch of people that have written some great books on the spiritual disciplines. But if you're going to be a real true follower of Jesus, here's what you must do. Are you ready? You got to study, and you got to read, and you need to memorize and pray and have solitude and quiet time and confess and fellowship and fast. And I could go through a long, long list, and it's all good stuff. You need to do that. This helps you in this loving God with your whole heart, mind, soul, the relationship part. Rule number 1, this will really help you with that. But here's my question as I was thinking about it this past week. How is it that the greatest commandment, second greatest commandment of all time, love people, how is it that it doesn't make that list? See, somewhere along the way, we have decided that our personal performance as followers of Jesus is more important than all the people in the world around us who are in need of the hope of Jesus. And if this truly is the greatest, the second greatest commandment of all, if this is it, then here's my question. How is it that we never talk about discipline? Having disciplines in place, putting some habits in place, putting some things in place, some practices in place in our lives, have some tangible ways that we can love people, that we can show the love of Jesus to the people in the world around us in need of hope with no strings attached. If it's the second greatest commandment of all, how is it that we do that? One of the most exciting things for me about the way this place has changed over the last 9 years is that we've really learned to elevate what it is Jesus is pointing us to here. In this place, we are all about showing the love of Jesus with no strings attached to people inside and outside the walls of this place. And I'm going to tell you something, as we continue to grow, it has to stay front and center for us. This is the tension that we have to continue to live in. We're 100% sold out to the vision, changing what people think when they hear the word Christian in our city. We're 100% sold out to the vision, but as we're walking into that, as we're doing that, as the bullets are flying in the midst of the battle, we have to make sure that no man, woman, or child gets left behind. You want to know about that? It's going to take all of us pulling together to make that happen. In a church our size, it's beyond my ability to do this. In church our size, it's beyond our elders' ability. It's beyond our staff's ability. It's beyond all of the great volunteers who are sitting in this room this morning, this army that God is raising up. It is beyond our capacity to do this. It's going to take more and more of us jumping into this place. As more and more people continue to come in to be reached and rescued, it's going to take more and more of us jumping in, getting on mission to make sure no one falls through the crack, and that we continue to push up and elevate what Jesus is pointing us to here. Love people. Now, that's inside the walls of the place. The principle is the same outside the walls of the place. And this is what 719 is all about. 719. I don't know, you weren't here last week, you may not know what I'm talking about. I talked about it extensively last week. Please go back. If this is your church, go back and watch that piece of last week's message. We're going to try to post it this week, but you need to hear it. Okay, 719 is not only our area code. We're going to hand you a card. If you didn't get one, we'll have some guys at the doors handing you these cards just as a reminder for you when you leave here today. Put them on your fridge and just be in that. 719 is not just our area code in this city. It is our plan to reach and rescue more and more people in this city through our Saturday night services that are going to start on October 14th and 15th. The 7 is prayer. Would you pray with us 7 days a week for hearts of people in this city who need the hope and the help of Jesus? Would you pray for that? The 1 is invite. Would you invite one friend, one couple, one family every single week to come and attend Saturday night service on October 14th, our very first Saturday night service of all. And the 9 is 9 hours a month of service. So here's the thing that you're going to start hearing a lot in this place because we cannot afford not to do this. Serve one, attend one. Serve one service, attend the next, and then you're done. Whether it's Saturday night or Sunday morning, serve one, attend one. That's the 719, and we want to give you a card to help you. Would you get on mission with us and start doing those things right now with us heading into October 14th? The other thing I want to talk about is September 30th, which is 3 weeks from yesterday. City Serve is coming. City Serves when all the churches in town, not all of them, but a bunch of us, hit the streets and we do tangible acts of love for people. We just love people in our city. We do tangible acts of love in the name of Jesus, no strings attached for our city. Last year, we were the second biggest church. This year, we need to win. All right? I've got 2 pastors already blowing my phone up this week. We're tied with a church that for the lead right now. I don't know about today, but a couple days ago, that is about a third our size. It's embarrassing, right? We got to win. My name and reputation is on the line here, people. That's not what it's about. It's about loving people. We got a tangible way to do that. So let's rise up, DCC. Go out, talk to someone at the serve table today. They'll help you get signed up for City Serve. And the last thing is we need you to give financially. Now, if you're around this place, I don't talk about this stuff a lot. We don't pressure people. We don't pass anything. We hang boxes on the wall. But it's time for us to rise up into that. We're trying to raise $400,000 in cash over and above our normal offering on Sunday, October 8th, or by Sunday, October 8th. Some of you have already gotten online. There's a designation for 719. You've already hit it. Thank you for that. But we're trying to raise that. I know, that's a big number, right? It breaks out to about $200 per person in this place. Some of you can't do that. And some of us can write checks for $20,000. I don't know how God's going to do it, but I know this is what he's calling us to do. And it's always 12% of whatever comes in is going to go out the doors of this place, outside the walls, this time to help with hurricane relief down in the south. So I'm hoping that's a huge number. You can be a part of that too, right? And so there it is, right? 719 plus 2, City Serve and Give. That's what we're asking you to do. And I understand. Listen, I get it, because I've sat where you are for most of the years of my life. It sounds like I'm standing up here saying, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. But I just want you to know, this is not about what I'm asking from you. It's not about what I want from you. It's all about, and I mean this, what I want for you. This is about our hearts. It's about every one of our hearts individually. It's about every heart in this room. It's about every heart outside the walls of this place. This is about helping us, helping you and me walk into what Jesus says is most important. What he says is most important, this thing that we tend to miss in the church. That is what this is about. Love God. Love people. Well, let's finish this up. And so here's the guy's response. He says, verse 32, well said, teacher. The man replied, you're right in saying that God is one and there's no other but him. He tells Jesus he's right. Okay, yeah. So anyway, to love him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. And when Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, you're not far from the kingdom of God. You're not far from the kingdom of God. And from then on, no one dared ask him any more questions. I love this part right here that the teacher of the law interjects. He adds something here to the conversation that Jesus never said. He says, this love God, love people thing, it's more important than burnt offerings and sacrifices. He adds that part. Jesus didn't say that. So what is he talking about here? What he's talking about is the rituals of the day. He's talking about the rules, the regulations, and the rituals, all these things. So what you're saying, Jesus, is me loving God and loving people is more important than all this other religious stuff that we do when we come together to do church. And Jesus says, yep. You're right. And dude, you are so close. You are so close to the kingdom of God. You are so close to heaven on earth. You're so close to experiencing it, man. You are right there. You're close as you've ever been. You're almost there, which is great, except almost really only counts in what? Horseshoes and hand grenades. So it's like almost. What's the question? What's the tension here? The tension is, how do we get him from almost there to all the way there? You know what the answer is? The difference here is the difference in having the right answer and putting the right answer in play in your life. I don't have any question as I stand up here today and look out at you that every single one of us in this room wants to bring some hope to some other people. We do. It's not about want to. There's something else getting in our way. It's not about want to. There's something else getting in our way. So what is it? Okay? Here it is. I can't bring what I haven't found and experienced. I can't bring to someone else what I haven't found and experienced myself. I can't give you something I don't have. See, I see so many people. I've seen so many people in my lives. A lot of us, we're trying our best. Love God, love people. Oh, I got to do this. And we're really committed. We're trying to discipline ourselves to do these things. And we've got all this stuff in place in our lives that demonstrates that we're trying to live that out. And yet we just keep getting to these places where we feel burned out or flamed out, or we just feel empty inside. And it's like, I'm trying. What is it? What is it that's getting in the way? What is it that's stopping me here? I just don't understand. It's so normal. So here's my thing. Could it be that we have overlooked two simple words? Two simple words that are in the verse that Jesus quotes from Leviticus 19. Two simple words that Jesus just said to this teacher of the law. Two simple words that the teacher of the law just repeated back to him. What are the words? As yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Could it be that this is what you and I are missing? And the reason this is so important to me, this is my passion, this is what makes my heart come alive, is because I missed the significance of these two words for so many years of my life. I remember about 6 months before I crashed and burned in ministry back in North Carolina. So rewind the clock before that happened. I was sitting in my office one night, and I'm like, God, something's wrong. I feel empty inside. And I'm loving you. I love you with all my heart and all my soul and mind and strength to the extent I know how to do that. I love people, and I want to reach people, and I want to get everybody I can to go to heaven someday and all that. And I'm trying my best to do these things, but I feel empty inside. And see, what I didn't know then that I know now is I had been saved. I'd been saved. That was true, but I had not come close to experiencing all that Jesus had for me. I was saved, but at the end of the day, I couldn't stand the guy that I looked at when I looked in the mirror. Beneath the surface of my life, my story was I was a broken mess. We just sang a song, Great Are You, Lord. This lyric in there that just, you bring hope. You restore every heart that is broken. I needed that, and I didn't even know it. There was so much redemption and restoration and healing that was available to me that I wasn't even aware of. There was so much more to this relationship with Jesus that I could experience in my relationship with Jesus that I didn't even have a clue about. And so I could stand on stage and I could talk to you about the hope of heaven. I could say, we all have the hope of eternal life, yay, but I couldn't stand on stage and give you much hope for today. Why? Because I hadn't found and experienced it myself. What I'm talking to you about here is the difference in being saved and being rescued. Saved gives me hope for someday. When I'm rescued by Jesus, gives me more and more and more and more hope every single day. And most of us never recognize the difference. And it's a problem for us because I can't bring what I haven't experienced myself. See, we're commanded here. Jesus says, love others as you love yourself. And so Jesus is kind of presuming here that we have this in place in our lives. And this is problematic for us as church people because we're like, no, you're not supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to deny yourself. And you to be last. The first is last and last is first. And you're supposed to serve other people. And it just gets so confusing. Listen, I'm telling you, I think Jesus is telling us that there's a presumption here. You got this in place. In fact, you have to have this piece in place to do what it is I'm asking you and commanding you to do here. This is not about you and me elevating other people around us to the level of love that we have for ourselves. Loving ourselves is a problem. There are people that we all know that tend to love themselves a little too much, right? Can I tell you something about those people? They're faking it. They're posing. What's driving that is they really don't love themselves at all. This is not about us elevating others to the level we find ourselves, getting them where we are. This is about getting us where they are. That's what it's about. It's learning to look in the mirror and love yourself. It's learning to see yourself as God sees you. It's a challenge for us. It really, really is. We just sang a song. It says, you rescued me so I can stand and sing, I am a child of God. You rescued me so I can stand up and sing, I am a child of God. Not someday I can do that. Not when I get to heaven, get my little angel wings, and I'm flying around in the angel choir, and I'm singing, and Jesus is there in the angel band, and he's singing Leonard Skinner. No, it's not Talladega Nights. Okay, so sorry, I digress. So it's not that. It's not a someday thing. It's today. I can stand before you today, and I can say, you know what? I can stand and sing that despite how my story reads, and it's as bad as any story you're going to hear. I've screwed up so bad in my life. Despite how my story reads, despite the horrible, horrific, terrible things I've done in my life, here's what I can do. I can stand up here and sing, I am a child of God, I am forgiven, and I am free. I have found hope, and I am living free. Do you have this in your life? What I'm talking about is not just having this, walking in this hope of heaven someday because of what Jesus did for me. I'm talking about having that plus everything that Jesus came to do for me and wants to do for me and is doing in my life today. That's what I'm talking. It's a both and. It's a both and experience. Do you, as you sit here today, do you have that in place in your life? Is my relationship with Jesus based on a one-time moment? One thing that Jesus did that gives me confidence that I'm going to be in heaven someday, or is it that plus an ongoing relationship with Jesus that continues to get better and richer and deeper and greater every single day. See, we can't give away something that we haven't found and experienced. I can't give away water out of a well that's run dry. I think that's what Jesus is pointing us to here. And I want you to know, this is why the ransomed heart message is so important in this place. It's a message that saved my life. Jesus saved my life, but he used this message to save my life, to save my marriage. It's so responsible for helping me become who I am today. It's helping me every single day. It helps me to become more of that. This is why this is so important. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I get it, right? This question is going to feel wrong in church, all right? It's going to feel wrong in church. It would have felt wrong to me for most of my Christian life too. I say, that's a bad question. That's a wrong question. You should have never asked it. Can I tell you something? It's not the wrong question. It's not a bad question. It's a vital and necessary question. Here it is. As you try your best to love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength, as you're trying your best to do that, and you're trying your best to love people, here's the question. What steps are you taking to learn to love yourself? To see yourself like God sees you. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Jesus said that. That was actually Whitney Houston. But it's still true. It's still true. Listen. I have been rescued, and I continue to be rescued so that I can be a part of helping to rescue other people. That's the life that every single one of us came in here looking for. After 40 years of my life of trying everything I knew to try and turning over every rock, turning everywhere really but God to find significance and purpose and meaning and fulfillment in my life. You know what? I finally discovered this. I came across this life-changing thing of all that Jesus came to do for me. You know what happened? All of a sudden I learned to be okay with the guy that I saw in the mirror. And loving God with all my heart and all my soul and all my strength and all my mind became real for me. It became tangible. It's like, oh my gosh, I can actually do that. I can touch it. And I'm going to tell you something. I love God more every single day. It's part of the reason I struggle to speak when I first come up here is because worship in this place wrecks me almost every single week. I mean, I'm down there and I'm crying. You know why I'm crying? Because I can't believe how much God loves me. I can't believe how much God loves me. Despite all I've done, oh my gosh, he loves me so much. I can't believe that God gives me the privilege of being a part of a place like this. And so I love God more than I've ever loved God because of what I've experienced in my relationship with Jesus. I also, this love people thing, man, I love people more and more every single day. In fact, listen, I want every person on this planet to taste what I have found and experienced in my life with Jesus. And I'm committed to bringing the rest of my life, giving everything I got the rest of my life to helping people find that. Love God, love people. Love God, love people. Love God, love people. But as you do that, whatever you do, don't miss the significance of this. Don't miss the significance of two simple, often overlooked words. As yourself. As yourself. Listen, a part of finding the hope that you're looking for is getting on mission and helping other people find hope. And we're asking you to do that in a variety of ways. And we're pushing you and begging you and everything we know to get you to do that. That's true. But I hope that you won't leave here today without at least some contemplation or maybe even a conversation of how you can find and experience that hope, that life, and that freedom in your own life and story too. Why? Because we can't offer water out of a well that is dry. Let me pray for us. Jesus. It's so easy for us in this church thing, even in this life of following you, to default to what it is that we're supposed to do and not do. And yet, Jesus, there's so much that you need to do in us for us to really thrive in that. You bring hope. You restore every heart that is broken. There's a lot of broken hearts in this room today, Jesus. There are a lot of hearts in this room that are being asked to step up and into bringing hope to other people when they couldn't feel more hopeless themselves. And so, Jesus, I'm asking you to come and do what it is only you can do. Their heart's not broken because of the mistakes they've made. Their heart's broken because of what's been done to them, said about them. It's because of their stories. And you know what's on the heart of every person in this room. So, Jesus, would you bring hope? Would you restore every broken heart in this place, and would you lift us up so that we can lift up you and so that you can then draw all people to yourself. They can find the hope, life, freedom that's only available in you. That's my prayer, Jesus. Come in your name. Amen. All right, don't leave. Real quick. So, hey, the practical way to take next steps into what we're talking about as far as helping get on mission with Saturday night is right outside those doors. You walk out, there's a serve table there. Every area is represented. You can ask questions. You can maneuver around. They'll help you find where you're supposed to be. Please jump on mission with us, at least for 100 days. We're asking people to do the Serve 1 to 10 1 for 100 days. Just see what God does through that and what he does in your life too. Try that with us. Hey, if you have questions about getting connected here in Next Steps, go out the door, look left. Great room called the garage there. Great people there to meet you. If you want prayer, we're big on that around here. People under the screens to my right and my left here who would love to meet you and pray with you. And if you want to give financially towards the 719 thing, but just give financially to help us. Like I said, we don't push any pressure on you or pass a plate. Boxes are on the wall, or you can hit our app or our website if you choose to do it electronically. I'll be out by the fireplace. If you want to talk to me, can't wait to continue the series with you next week. Go Broncos. Have a great week.